Raise hand, please. Okay.
Anybody who thinks the mayor runs the meeting is wrong. It's actually the city clerk. And actually beyond that is the recording system. Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. I will call this meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gatewood is absent at this time, but we do expect him. Councilmember Budge?
Here.
Councilmember Terry is running late, but will be joining us shortly. Vice Mayor Pulapati?
Here.
Mayor Sander?
Here. Could you read the meeting video recording and playback schedule, please?
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council is recorded with closed captioning. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The recording will also be video streamed at metro14live.setcounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Thursday, November 7th at 9 a.m. and Friday, November 8th at 9 a.m. on Metro Cable 14. Once posted, the recording of the meeting can also be viewed on demand at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14. A DVD copy can also be available in the city clerk's department, and a webcast of this meeting will be available on the city's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
Very good. Next up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation. Steve Harriman's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Jennifer Larrett with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will lead us in an invocation. So if you would join me by standing for the pledge and remain standing for the invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful to gather today, and we are grateful for the opportunity to live in this great city. And we are so grateful for the blessings that we have and the freedoms that we enjoy. And please bless our leaders at this time, that they may lead us with clarity and dignity. And bless all of our city employees, that they may have joy and peace in their lives. And please bless us tomorrow as we go through the election, that it will be done with calm hearts and clear minds. And take us through this day in safety. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jennifer. Next item is item 5, presentations, and item 5.1, if the clerk would read that title.
Presentation of proclamation to the Carlson Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship in recognition of Global Entrepreneurship Week.
And if Lydia, who is here, would meet me at the podium.
Mayor Sander, I do have some talking notes, and we do have Cameron Law with the Carlson Center joining us. So good evening, everyone. My name is Lydia Thung, and I'm an analyst with the Economic Development Department. This evening, we'd like to share some details about Global Entrepreneurship Week and present a proclamation to the Carlson Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is from November 18th through the 22nd, so in about 2 weeks, is a week-long celebration of innovation and entrepreneurship that takes place in communities around the globe. This year, the city is proud to support and recognize the Carlson Center on their efforts to celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week. The Carlson Center, located at Sacramento State, is a regional hub for entrepreneurial support, resources, and education. The Carlson Center serves as a catalyst for building an entrepreneurial ecosystem in the greater Sacramento area. Today, we are also joined by Cameron Law, Executive Director of the Carlson Center, which at this point, I'd like to invite Cameron up to the podium to share some work that the Carlson Center is doing and share some details on Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Well, first off, thank you so much for the recognition. It's a testament to the city of Rancho Cordova and your commitment to the entrepreneurial spirit and mindset, and seeing the work that's going on in this region, and particularly through some of the leadership here at the city of Rancho is amazing. And so, one, we just appreciate the recognition. We at the Carlson Center have stewarded the Global Entrepreneurship Week and really connected it to the international week that's going on. So we join over 100 countries in celebrating the role entrepreneurship plays in building thriving communities. And as you can see on the screen, a number of events that are taking place at the Carlson Center and across the region. We're excited to have the City of Rancho partner with us on a number of these events, and so those are highlighted in the gray, the Rancho Cordova Chamber Business Resource Fair, and then also NAWBO is going to be hosting a business builder at Frequency Co-working. So we're excited to add that to the list. Two events that I'd like to highlight that'll be taking place. One is we've hosted a Sacramento Entrepreneurial State of the Union to elevate the role entrepreneurship plays in our community. We'll be talking about 3 core innovation clusters that we see in our region, and I know the semiconductor space is a big one here in the city of Rancho, and so we'll be talking about clean technology and how that can be an anchor place here in the city of Rancho. And then lastly, on Wednesday, we're hosting the NorCal AngelCon, which is really a culminating event to activate new angel investors to invest in entrepreneurs in our community. And so we're really appreciative of the opportunity to have this recognition. I would love to have Arlene Miranda on my team, who's a 20-year resident here in the city of Rancho Cordova, come and receive the recognition with me. And we hope you come engage in the week and celebrate entrepreneurship in our community. So thank you for the recognition.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here tonight. This is a proclamation given in recognition of Global Entrepreneurship Week. I'm just going to read the text of the proclamation. Whereas the City of Rancho Cordova is proud to recognize November 18th to 22nd, 2024 as Global Entrepreneurship Week, and the Carlson Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at California State University, Sacramento for its celebration of GEW. And whereas GEW is the world's largest celebration of the innovators and job creators who launch startups that bring ideas to life, drive economic growth, and expand human welfare. And whereas Sacramento's week-long celebration of entrepreneurship and GEW involves dozens of local and regional events throughout the greater Sacramento region, each designed to expose constituents in the 6-county region to the idea of starting and running a business. And whereas these events, from large-scale competitions to teaching entrepreneurial skills in our regional higher education institutions, connect participants to potential collaborators, mentors, and even investors, introducing them to new possibilities and exciting opportunities. And whereas Rancho Cordova embraces the entrepreneurial spirit through its commitment to innovation and supporting a diverse range of industries from the advanced manufacturing and technology to retail and creative services. And whereas the Carlson Center serves as a vital resource for aspiring entrepreneurs across the region, providing mentorship, training, and access to the networks that empower individuals to bring their innovative ideas to market. And whereas the Carlson Center supports local entrepreneurship through its celebration of Global Entrepreneurship Week, now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Rancho Cordova does hereby proclaim November 18th to 22nd, 2024 as Global Entrepreneurship Week, and we proudly recognize the Carlson Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship for its outstanding contributions to the city's entrepreneurial ecosystem and economic vitality. In witness thereof, I've set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Rancho Cordova to be affixed this 4th day of November, 2024.
Thank you so much.
That, we present the proclamation. Thank you for your excellent work. Do we want to do a photo with the group? Anybody else want to do a photo?
I have not been. Oh, Senator has been. I've been.
Oh, here comes Leonard. Sure.
So I do actually have a question. Whichever one. For the center in general.
Yeah, sure.
In the past, this region has had trouble attracting angel investors. How are we doing in general?
Well, there's always room for growth and improvement. I would say one of the initiatives that we launched, which we have the culminating event called AngelCon, we received a state funding to run this program that we saw in Cal Poly in San Diego. And the intention was to activate new local angel investors. And so what we've seen predominantly in our region, those that have come to the ability to invest in startups, which we'd call an accredited investor, they haven't always looked to startups as the vehicle to invest in. And a lot of that is they've come to that ability to invest through real estate and other means. And so this training program, we've activated 15 new angel investors that have already deployed over $250,000 into startups and venture funds in the region. And so we're looking at that being a continual growth cycle that we can go going forward. Where we look to attract more outside capital is kind of in the venture capital space, so at that little bit later in the life cycle of a startup. And so particularly in the innovation clusters we see in this region, they're heavy capital intensive, everything from food and ag to the semiconductor and advanced manufacturing space. So there's definitely some room to grow there.
Well, that sounds really good, and quite frankly, it was a Metro Chamber study mission years ago to San Diego where we really learned how important angel investors can be to your community. So I appreciate the fact that you're using them kind of as a role model.
Definitely, we're taking what we're seeing them do and replicating it to our Sacramento region, and obviously making it our own. But that model has been successful in other communities, and it's been successful here. So we look forward to those that are interested in investing into startups. We will be opening up applications come January for those that want to learn how to ultimately invest and build that foundation.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question.
All right, next up, we have item 5.3. And Lori Ann Olm. I think you're going to talk about dictionaries and Rotary.
5.2.
Oh, sorry, 5.2.
Council, my name is Ken Press. I am representing the Rancho Cordova City Rotary Club as president, and I am pleased to have my fellow club members present themselves and introduce themselves as well before we get on.
Ross Johnson, past president, Rotary Club.
Lorianne Carl, city employee.
Anu Altanimban, Renew Imagination.
Arjun Joshi, president-elect for 2025-2026 Rotary Club.
Mike Passoff with B&J Body Shop and past president of Rotary.
Laurie Little, I am the Public Image Chair, and I am a State of California Manager for the Emergency Medical Services Authority.
So, I am super pleased to be in front of you tonight, and it is with gratitude that we present tonight. As you may know, and I know several of you know very intimately, this is one of the primary projects of the Rancho Cordova Rotary Club, and personally, one of my favorites. It is the annual giving of a children's illustrated dictionary that we present to third graders. And more than just helping with literacy and their continuing education, we introduced recently not just the presentation of the gift and the ceremony that goes with it to bestow a sense of pride and prestige of owning a dictionary for their very own, but we engage the class to actually look into their dictionaries and sort of learn what they're all about. And it's very interactive, super fun. The kids are looking up the words we ask them to. Usually what we do is we look up the word service, because that's who we are and what we're doing out there in the community. And this year in particular, I wasn't sure if all the kids knew their ABCs. So a very memorable moment for me was when I sort of asked them, so kids, do you know your ABCs, the order? Oh yeah. And they sang me the ABC song, which for me, it touched me greatly. Once we got that out of the way, that everyone is on board, we looked up the definition of service, And then we have selected children who raise their hands to read off the various definitions, so they understand that sometimes words have more than one meaning. And we go through that, and at the end, it is for me so empowering to announce to them that they have conducted what could be their first research into a particular word. And my hope and what we say to them is that this is a long journey to learning new words, maybe making the book a habit to review once a week or once a day to learn a new word. But I want to particularly thank several of the council members who were out there to help us deliver dictionaries. And moreover, to thank you as a council for some perspective, because I often say this is one of the best local governments in California. I did work for the state and actually help with all 58 counties in California. So I can say with great authority that I've worked with all the local agencies in California, and this one in particular is one of the premier. You guys are always open to great ideas from the public. You're super supportive of all the things we do. And I just want to say thank you as a citizen, thank you as president of Rotary Club, and thank you as one of a community of folks to say you guys are doing great as a local government. Thank you.
Don't spread on too thick or we're going to get big heads up. Thank you.
Oh, we have a presentation. Thank you, Lori. Oh, am I reading? Oh, okay. I was not aware of that. Rotary's commitment to community service is a high calling, rooted in our responsibility to give back to the community that supports us. Guided by our motto, service above self, we approach every project with purpose and integrity, reflecting the values that shape both our actions and impact. The 2024 third grade dictionary donations, we delivered a total of 1,126 dictionaries to 16 schools. For your review are all the schools in the area that we delivered to. We often talk about our goals and achievements, but nothing tells the story better than seeing it firsthand, which a lot of you did with us. These images that we're about to see capture some of the moments that impact our students. Please enjoy. So here we have one of our schools, one of our local collectives. Here's our other schools and projects. Thank you, Council, for all your help.
So Ken is so right, and I know that Siri and David agree with me. It's the most delightful thing to do. And I've been doing Navigator so long that some of the kids will come and say, my older brother or sister got one, and now I get one too. And if you wonder what I was doing, I always teach them how to make a book cover. You know, the old basic grocery bag book cover, and which is lots of fun. But I don't think this dictionary, this version, has the flags in the back anymore. It used to be that because we have so many kids who've come from all over the world, we could go to the flags in the back and have them look up the flag of the country they came from. And for me personally, that was always absolutely delightful. But thank you all very much for continuing to do this. It's just a really great thing to do.
And if I could say one more thing, because this is very important. This project would not have been possible without the community grant program that you guys have. So, as again, the gratitude extends across the board in terms of what you guys as council members do for us.
Very good, thank you. That was a very memorable experience, being present for dictionary distribution.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have item 5.3, new employee introductions. And Steve, I think you're up for this. And Maria.
He's not new. You're not new.
I feel new. Good evening, Mayor Sander, members of the council. I'm Steve Harriman with the Public Works Department, and I'm here tonight with the pleasure of introducing Mark Hill, who's a new Management Analyst 2 in the Operations and Maintenance Division of the Public Works Department. Mark is originally from Michigan, and throughout his long career in the solid waste business, he has worked for Eaton County, Michigan, King County, Washington. He worked on the campus of Michigan State for many years, and he ran the solid waste programs, not the University of Michigan, Michigan State, which is a different. He and his wife moved to California in 2019. And since then, he's worked for the city of Oxnard, Santa Barbara County, and then most recently with a private waste hauler called Marburg Industries. Mark has a bachelor's degree in business administration from Western Michigan University, Kalamazoo. My wife is from Michigan, so I know a little bit about that's in Kalamazoo. He's going to be helping us on a variety of tasks in the Operation Maintenance Division, but he will be primarily focused on our solid waste programs. He's getting here just in time for our transition to the Atlas residential contract, which is going to be fantastic. A couple of fun facts about Mark. He was a narrator on the Soo Locks boat tours. And during his interview, I said, "Where are you from in Michigan?" And he said, "Sault Ste. Marie." And I said, "Well, I've been to Sault Ste. Marie." And he was pretty impressed with that. It's a fascinating place. And he once rode his motorcycle over 900 miles in one day, which is extraordinary. So anyway, please help me welcome Mark Hill to the city.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be part of the Rancho Cordova team. My wife and I are in escrow on a home here in Rancho, so hopefully first part of December we'll be residents as well. Thank you.
What was your average speed on the motorcycle?
Well, that I don't know. It took me better part of 16 hours.
Yeah, okay. Very good. That's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shelley is Michigan State. Don't go too far. There's the duet you have to sing as a new employee.
Good evening, Mayor Sander and City Council members. Maria Chacon-Neisted with the Communications and Public Affairs Department. I'm pleased to be here this evening to introduce to you a new member of our city team. Andrea Cunningham is an admin assistant 1 who will be supporting the Communications and Public Affairs Department as well as the Economic Development Department. Andrea comes from a small city in Texas, Dripping Springs, where she served as a city secretary, and I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit more about herself.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. It's nice to meet y'all. Like Maria said, I'm from Dripping Springs, Texas. I also served as a city secretary in the city of New Braunfels and the city of Kyle as well. This department's new to me. I'm really, really excited. Like the gentleman said before, the city has been so wonderful so far. It's only my 3rd week, but I'm loving it. It's great. My husband and I moved here in May. We emptied our nest. My daughter is up in school at Cal Poly Humboldt up in Arcata, and then my son is at Colorado Springs, University of Colorado. Really excited. I love hitting the ground running. There's plenty of work to do, and I can't wait to get to know everybody better. And thank you for having me.
And I know something else. She's really good at trivia.
Aw, thanks, council member. You're not bad yourself.
That's great. Well, we need a few more y'alls in the building, so that's a great addition right there. Welcome. All right, that's going to take us to item number 6, public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk. For items on the agenda, speakers will be called on by the mayor at the point on the agenda when the item will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep comments to 3 minutes or less and to state their name and community of residence. Under the provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or the need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. So, Madam Clerk, if you would announce our public comment.
Yes, we have received about 11 speaker cards. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the speaker cards, and then I have some additional information that I'd like to share with you. So Sarah Alzanoon, if you'd like to come forward. Samantha Stringer, Rebecca Light. You'll each have 3 minutes, and we'll start with Sarah.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Alzanoon, and I'm a proud state employee, and I've worked in Rancho Cordova for the last 7 years in tax branch. I would name all of my family members that were killed by the IOF, but that would take my entire 3-minute allotment. Those relatives were younger than each person serving this council. That said, I'm here to talk about a ceasefire resolution that my colleagues drafted with the Jewish community. We're not begging for the impossible. We're asking that the city does the bare minimum, which is a non-binding ceasefire resolution. And yet, time and time again, the city throws its own community members into endless battles month after month, only to toss it away like garbage. Do we comprehend the level of inhumanity of forcing people to beg their city representatives for the bare minimum of a ceasefire? I'd like you to imagine for a second what it would be like in my shoes. Imagine every person in your bloodline in a different state or country killed by your tax dollars. How would you feel? What would your call to action be? We've had talks. We've been given the runaround for the last 8 months or so. I've heard comments from council that the situation is complicated. It seems to be a gray area to who is a victim in the situation. Well, I, for one, have never heard of a victim who's able to control the airspace, borders, water, and food transportation like Israel does. I know this because I live there. Bottom line is that the source of violence comes from a 75-year settler occupation. Violence always stems from the oppressor. The violence is supplied by imperial powers and not possible without U.S. tax dollars. We must be laser focused on saving lives, no matter what faith or ethnicity they hold. The number of children killed in Gaza has surpassed the annual number of children killed across the world's conflict zones since 2019. Yet, instead of helping end this violence, we continue to aid it. Our media baselessly cast doubt on the Palestinian death toll, even though we see images every day. Some of the congressmen in these areas want to send even more weapons to carry out war crimes and violations of international law. But they want to do it by providing tax breaks to billionaires and undermining crucial investments that our communities need. Instead of funding more bombs with American taxpayer dollars, our leaders should be calling for a ceasefire now, before this violence claims thousands of more lives. It already has, and my family paid the ultimate price for it. Please support the ceasefire resolution that we have already drafted with our Jewish allies. Please consider putting it on the agenda. I'd like to use, I was going to say the rest of this time to have a moment of silence for those children killed. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker, Samantha Stringer.
Hello, Rancho Cordova City Council. My name is Samantha Nicole Stringer. I have worked in Rancho Cordova for the past 1.5 years, and I would like to advocate that the city of Rancho Cordova adopt a ceasefire resolution. Since the start of this conflict, which began on October 7th, we've had over 186,000 Palestinians who died. 90% of them were innocent men, women, and children. And this is an estimate not only including the shootings, bombings, and active targeting of innocent men, women, and children, but also the people who have died and suffered due to the famines and shortage of medical supplies due to the Israeli government blocking aid to Gaza. And a main reason as why the Israeli government is able to commit these crimes is because there's been over $17.9 billion of military aid sent to Israel from the United States government. I believe trying to push Israel to commit a ceasefire resolution can stop this ongoing conflict. It can stop the bloodshed and the violence that continues to affect Palestinians and now Lebanese people. And I believe that if everybody does their part, we can push for a ceasefire. I know that this is at the local government level, and so there's only so much that can be done. But I believe adopting a ceasefire resolution would be the first step to caring for people, and including the Palestinian Americans who have lost countless relatives in this horrible genocide. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Rebecca Light. Following Rebecca will be, well, we'll just go with Rebecca.
Thank you very much. Good evening, City Council members and Mayor Sander. My name is Rebecca Light, and I have been a resident of Rancho Cordova since 2021. I am here today to urge you to place a ceasefire resolution concerning the current genocide taking place throughout the Gaza Strip in Palestine on the agenda for your consideration. Though this genocide is occurring halfway across the world, I would like to point out how interconnected we are, not only as humans, but as a city and individuals, to highlight the importance of this resolution and its direct relevance to you today. Firstly, Rancho Cordova is a family city. As a mother of a 5-year-old, I recognize this city's inclusive atmosphere and amenities for children. Notably, the Children's Museum, as one example, exemplifies the uplifting of children and attention and care given to the city's children. This genocide has claimed, according to Oxfam, this last 30th of September, more lives of women and children in the equivalent period of any other conflict over the past 2 decades. Conservative figures demonstrate over 11,000 children were killed by Israeli Defense Forces supplied with American ammunition in the last 12 months, with countless more buried under rubble and incinerated from bombings. 25,000 have been orphaned or have lost at least one parent. A ceasefire resolution adopted by you demonstrates that you and this city uphold the dignity and cherish the lives of all children, regardless of where they live or who they are. Our interconnectedness also extends to our soils and our climate. As both regions share the rare Mediterranean climate, both have a rich history and culture surrounding agriculture. We see the similarities in Rancho Cordova's celebration of this and our beloved soil-borne farms, farmers markets, and rancho roots. Again, citing Oxfam, 68% of Gaza croplands have been destroyed. This devastation, coupled with targeted strikes on aid workers, such as the killing of the World Central Kitchen volunteers and blockages of humanitarian aid, is causing a man-made famine. The deliberate targeting of agricultural fields directly violates the Geneva Convention. Adoption of this ceasefire resolution by you would prove this city's commitment to uplifting food security and environmental protection. I sincerely urge you to place the ceasefire resolution on the agenda for future consideration. Thank you.
Next speaker is Fozia Farouk.
Good evening, esteemed council members, mayor, vice mayor. My name is Fozia Farouk. I work with CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and I also live in Rancho Cordova. I stand here today as a part of the community deeply invested in the call for peace, reiterating our support for a ceasefire resolution. This resolution is vital to our community as it stands to protect lives and fosters understanding. It is a time of unprecedented challenges. We've shown our commitment to collaboration, working alongside Jewish leaders and Jewish Voice for Peace to advocate for meaningful change. Together, we are committed to continuing this partnership to craft a resolution that resonates with all communities represented. As part of these efforts, we respectfully request that your Legislative Council staff meet with us for a working session so we may outline a shared path forward as well as place it on your agenda. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is.
Can I ask a quick question of the last speaker? What is your role with CARE? I don't think I caught that.
Yeah, I'm the Policy and Advocacy Coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
Faisal Mazur.
Hello, everybody. So we have members in our community that are coming from Palestine and the Israeli areas. I don't think that you guys are willing to go over there and try to make peace. I don't think that's what anybody behind me wants, anybody expects from us, our community. But we want you guys to sit down with us and have a discussion on this issue. There are family members and community members that live in Rancho Cordova that are from both sides, that have been conflicted by both sides of the conflict. 70,000 tons of bombs have been dropped in that little area. As more bombs have been dropped on Germany, on the UK, and on France in World War II, just in a small area. We don't expect you guys to solve the problem, but we do expect you guys to see that there is an issue, that there are children being killed, that there are women being killed, and that shouldn't be acceptable. When innocent women and children are being killed and slaughtered, and we sit back and do nothing about it, that's when democracy dies. So I would request that you guys discuss this issue and speak to CARE and other members of our community to figure out a way that we can help the community members that have family members that are dying over there. I'd like to leave the rest of the time as a moment of silence for those who have lost their lives. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jessica Rego. Sorry, I think I said Jessica.
That's okay, thank you. Good evening. Y'all have heard from me before multiple times. I'm Jess Arrigo. I live in Folsom and I work here in Rancho Cordova. I used to say in two capacities, my day job and my side hustle. But honestly, I've really put my side hustle on a big pause to advocate for this because it's that important. It's more important than me getting a little bit of extra income. I didn't really prep anything thoroughly for tonight because I'm so sick of trying to write a 3-minute statement that will get people to see other people as people. There's so much dehumanization going on in the discourse over this. We can't let it continue. That's why we're asking you to speak up as leaders. I've been working on outreach instead of this speech. We got more people to come. You know, people are really busy. It's hard for us to organize, get people to show up, but we did organize getting people to add comments to public comment. So I think you guys will see that in the public comment binder, how many people had time to write in, even if they weren't able to show up tonight. Since I have some extra time, and I didn't write anything new, I did want to follow up on a few of the things I spoke about at an earlier meeting last spring when I wore the watermelon costume. I asked if anybody here knew why the watermelon had become a symbol for Palestine. We saw Sarah's wearing watermelons on her sweater today. And I also wanted to address the Tarwida music that I played when I was up here that time that I never got around to talking about. So the watermelon became a symbol for Palestine after the 1967 war, where Israel banned the Palestinian flag. You could get shot, arrested, for just having a flag. So that doesn't really sound like a democracy to me. And it was banned for 29 years. That's just a little bit of history. I feel like people have a lot, people think a lot of things, and I really had to research a lot, and these are things that came up in my learning. I hope everyone has the sense of wanting to learn more about this. Okay, the Tarwita music that I played when I was up here in the watermelon costume, I said it was a very special historical music. It was developed, I'm no historian, but from the best that I can tell, originally during the British Mandate, and then really developed a lot at the beginning of the occupation. So many men were getting taken into prison by the Israeli military occupation. The women would go to the prison and sing these songs at the walls of the prison to try to show the men, like, hey, we're here for you, we're fighting for you, we're gonna get you out of there. And they coded it into this secret language so that the prisoners would understand without the guards understanding. And I wanted to bring that up because there are so many lies going around about this, including a lie that we hear so many of our politicians say, that this violence began on October 7th. I'm sorry, I'll wrap this up. It did not begin on October 7th, and that's part of why we want our resolution to push it up to these politicians who keep lying. There's prisoners, yes, we want hostages to come home. There's been, over the Israeli occupation, 10 to 20,000 Palestinians held in prison, no due process. If that's not a hostage, I don't know what else is. So yes, we want all
Wrap up your
hostages.
comments.
We want all hostages to come home on both sides, and a ceasefire would be good for all hostages on both sides.
Next speaker is Jumana Ali.
Good evening. My name is Jumana Ali, and I stand here as a member of this community deeply concerned for our Palestinian and Muslim residents affected by the ongoing crisis in Gaza, which has been happening for over a year. With over 41,000 lives lost, according to the United Nations, this humanitarian tragedy has become absolutely impossible to ignore. According to OCHA and reports from UNICEF, thousands of homes in Gaza have been either completely destroyed or rendered uninhabitable. Schools, often used as emergency shelters, have also been hit, which severely impacts children's access to education and their sense of safety. It's not just a distant crisis. It impacts us here in Rancho Cordova, as many families worry not only for their loved ones in Gaza, but in Lebanon and Syria as well, where violence is escalating. This is a local issue that impacts the well-beings of our neighbors, our workplaces, and our schools. We ask you to stand with us, to honor our community's shared sense of humanity, and to help us move towards peace. We look to you to make this decision with empathy and with strength, and to help not only protect the lives of those at risk abroad, but to help the well-being of your residents here at home. I truly urge you to work with us and call for a ceasefire. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Next speaker is Diana Munoz.
Hello, Rancho Cordova City Council and Mayor. My name is Diana Munoz, and I have been a resident of the White Rock neighborhood for 3 years. And I'm a PhD candidate who works on CRISPR-based disease diagnostics, and I bring this up to illustrate the diversity of people who are here in favor of a ceasefire resolution. I was able to pursue my scientific career because I grew up here in the land of opportunity and safety. But unfortunately, I have seen that students in Gaza face great challenges completing their education. I say great challenges and not insurmountable challenges because these devoted students are continuing their education as best as they can in tents. And one of these students, Shaban Al-Dalu, remains at the forefront of my mind because he is just one of many students of great promise who never got to achieve his dreams. So for him and the people of Gaza, I voice my support for a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Next speaker is Altaf Sarkar.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members, and all others here. My name is Altaf Sarkar. I am a retired engineer. I am living in Rancho, Cordova from 2020. You all know and watch the news, what's going on in Gaza. And already several speakers before me, they have already talked about this. So I want to talk very short that we strongly support Gaza ceasefire and permanent resolution and two-state solution. So we don't like to spend our tax money for Israel to kill the Gaza innocent peoples. And there are a lot of children, thousands of children and women, innocent, they are being killed every day, every day. We cannot, when I see the news in the TV, I have to cry, I cannot continue. So we are standing here in front of you to pass our, include our agenda. We strongly support ceasefire. Also, we also support release of hostages of Israeli. So, permanent resolution, we request you to include in your agenda today that we are in favor of strongly support of ceasefire for Gaza and pass this message to the higher level. Thank you very much for listening us.
Next speaker, I can't read the first name, but the last name is Sultana.
Oh, she's out already.
Is she here? Or
She is gone.
she's gone? Okay.
She's the same.
Thank you. Faiza Mughal.
Hi, my name is Faiza Mughal. I live in Lincoln Village. Stacy, after I read this comment, are we going to have a count read of how many public comments? Yes? Okay, perfect. So we're standing here today to ask that the ceasefire resolution be added as a future agenda item so it can be vetted, workshopped, and passed by this council. The ceasefire resolution affirms that all communities, regardless of leadership actions, deserve safety, respect, and dignity, and that peaceful diplomacy is the sole path toward achieving lasting stability and reconciliation in that region. This council set a precedent of weighing in on international affairs when they passed a resolution recognizing the region of Artsakh, and then another resolution declaring solidarity with Ukraine. Resolutions I applaud and supported. But we've been asking you for a ceasefire resolution advocating for peace in Israel and Palestine for about half a year now with no progress. I watched as community members poured their hearts out to you about this conflict and how it was impacting them. We saw that here tonight again. You did not do anything to address those concerns. We haven't really been getting solid responses. So now we're back. And I think that we'll probably keep coming back until something is done. This time around, here's what we've done differently. We've created a resolution that was vetted by members of the organization Jewish Voices for Peace. So we are working on a both sides solution here, something that would make everybody happy. We've also launched a community campaign that is gaining traction with our local residents. It takes work to do that, to the moving pieces and the organizing, but we are ready, willing, and able to gain momentum. But what we're really hoping for is to walk away today and have, I guess, at agenda item 13, have one of you put a motion to have this added to an agenda, maybe some workshopping sessions, and then have that come back before the council for a vote. Show me you have the guts to stand up for peace, the same way I've had to take hits for daring to ask for it. When you get to agenda item 13, council requests for future agenda items, put a motion in for the ceasefire resolution. Again, we're open to workshopping this resolution with staff. One more thing I want to add. I'm not just here for a foreign cause. I'm raising 3 Muslim children, second generation Rancho Cordovans, and I need to do this for them. You need to do this for them and me as well. Thank you.
Next speaker is Layla Stoll.
Hi, I'm Layla Stoll, and I'm a Rancho Cordova citizen who is also Palestinian American descent. I need you to listen to how the war in Gaza is affecting people such as myself within our community and why you should consider a ceasefire resolution. My grandfather was a Palestinian who loved everyone, regardless of their background and identity. He would have a fruit tree in his backyard, multiple fruit trees, and he would share them with everyone, even the ones who attempted to steal them. He saw everyone as a person. He was the complete opposite of the terrorist image that people would see Arabs depicted as on TV. And it breaks my heart to see my family viewed this way, to be seen as barbaric demons who deserve no remorse, which is farthest from the truth. They are people just like you. There are many peace-loving Palestinians, much like my grandfather, who are still trapped in Gaza and want nothing more than to live in peace and have equal rights as the Israelis. They are not terrorists, and a huge part of me hurts deeply when I see my people killed and there's nothing done about it because they are viewed as dangerous. And yet I am expected to go about my day as if nothing happened. Killing women and children for the actions of a group that does not represent them is not the answer. This genocide on innocent Palestinian lives needs to stop now. Our country needs to show respect for all human life, and it can start here right in Rancho Cordova. Thank you.
Next speaker is Helen Whalen-Bashaw.
Hi, Helen Whalen-Bashaw from the Tiffany area. A nice, hot, and heavy topic right now. I had been approached on this subject, and I have mixed feelings on it because you have to understand the history. And in 1948, the U.S. supported Israel, and that was dealing with the Holocaust and everything. And then you fast forward to 1960, when the U.S. government made an alliance with Israel. Then when you look at the hostage situation, right now there's 7 Americans that are being held hostage in the Gaza. In 1981, Canada and the CIA joined forces to release the, I think it was 44 U.S. citizens that were trapped in Iran. What I understand both sides, but the problem is I believe a local government has no right to go against the federal government. This issue needs to be taken up with the current president of the United States because they are the ones who have the right to change things. When you say that U.S. money is backing the bombing, that is a history that dates back to 1948 and 1960. So to weigh in on this, I don't think it's something that the local government can do. But I do believe more information needs to be brought forward by the council and the city to explain why this issue is as hot as it is and what the resolution can be. two things I recommend to these people who are coming forward is Canada. Canada is a neutral country. You deal with Canada. You deal with the United Nations. The United Nations is established to help bring peace amongst the world. They are some of your big supporters. Normally, fights are over religion or gains of another country. The people in Gaza, I feel for them, but until the hostages of the United States are still captive there, there's nothing really that can be done. So, I would like the city to come forward and explain where the city stands on it, what's wrong with the resolution that they've written. I do see something in it. Because I'm prior military, I have an opinion about what you don't do against the United States government because we don't understand what the politics are. Thank you.
Next speaker is James Garcia.
Hello, James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. I want to actually end this public comment. Hopefully, I'm maybe the last. Nope, I'm not. Well, I guess I can't end it on a happy note. But I was actually just going to say thank you for the Good Neighbor event that was held at Stone Creek Community Park on the 24th. It was a lot of fun, a lot of kids out there, great costumes, contests, and everything else. Great that Maria was able to encourage me to go. So I just wanted to say thanks on that and say it was a good, happy time. So thank you.
Next public comment is Kantker Hassan.
Hello, my name is Kantker Hassan, and for all the children and babies that are currently dying in Palestine, I would like to strongly advocate for a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Those are all the speaker cards that I have. However, I have some additional information to share. The city clerk's office also received 21 emails for public comment. 20 of those are in support of the ceasefire resolution, and they asked to be added to public comment for the November 4th, 2024 city council meeting that is this evening. These public comments have been distributed to the city council. They have been placed on the city's website, and they are also printed in a binder in the back of the council chambers. In addition, the city clerk's office also received more than 30 emails since Friday, November 1st in support of a ceasefire resolution. And these emails did not say specifically in their written communication that it was intended for public comment. But I did want to recognize that we received a total of about 50 written communications. Again, 21 of those were specific to public comment. I did also want to read the names of those who submitted written public comment. There's 21 of them. And those individuals, so they can be in the record, are Brenda Gustin, Michelle Stoll, Antonita Johnson, Amir Kanek, Isa Abdur Rahim, Shazma Nushin, Haroon Musafar, Tahir Abdur Rahim, Amid Abdur Rahim, Maurice Marabe, Salwa Marabe, Faiza Mughal, Lene Peters, Antonia Merez, Aaron Roundtree, Oscar Gonzalez Zavala, Afnan Mohammed, Abdallah Altam, Kayla Neely Lopez, Mohammed Akbar Amini, and Brenda Gustin. On the other side, I'd also like to mention that on this topic, the City Council staff and City Clerk's office has also received more than 8,600 emails since September 26th of 2024 to not support a ceasefire resolution. These emails did not say that they were written comments and were intended for public comment at a council meeting. But I did want you to know, as you have seen those coming in, that more than 8,600 were not for the resolution.
Yeah, I did a similar count in my inbox and came up with something over 8,000. Yeah. All right. We are moving on to council reports. And Mr. Gatewood is up first, but he is not yet here. So Ms. Budge, you are up. Yes.
We did have a meeting of the, what we call the SBTC JPA this morning, the Sacramento Placerville Transportation Commission, and we've been, they are working on adopting a new contract to do excursion rail, and the discussion of whether or not there should be a new master plan. I knew that the lady who was introduced earlier was very good at trivia, because I sat with her at the employees' Halloween lunch, which was lots of fun. It is always an absolute delight to see everybody dressed up, and they did a great trivia contest, and she ranked quite well. I did attend Rotary last week, specifically because Rotary is engaged in a variety of projects with the Soulborn Farm, and they provided information about that. And the big highlight this week was probably our visit to SK Hynix, the Solidyne offices, and finding out more about Solidyne and what they have brought to Rancho Cordova. And those would be my comments.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think most of my time these days has been working on school bonds in this city. So if I have free time that's been dedicated to that, or to Rancho Cordova things, it's mostly been that. And I will just say, I hope everyone votes or has voted. And you can vote here tomorrow. When can you still vote right now here? No.
No.
Yeah. Up until when tomorrow?
So tomorrow, the vote center here at Rancho Cordova City Hall is open from 7 in the morning until 8 p.m.
Okay. Okay. So I spoke to FISA about this subject a week or so ago. The draft in front of me, and I'm declaring my intentions of what I'll talk about.
This is an agenda item at the end of this agenda. This is the time for council reports on things you've done in the community. Generally, is what we use this for.
You want us to wait? Okay. It's fine. I have no report.
I'll be here. It's fine.
So last week I attended the Metro Cable. Mayor, I assume you want me to go next.
You are next up, Siri, yes.
I attended the Metro Cable 14 meeting downtown. We hired a new executive director. The subcommittee took the time to interview him, and we have a new executive director. And the key one thing I want to highlight here is now Folsom Cordova School Board, their board meetings will be cablecast on Metro 14 starting now. That was the new update at that Metro Cable meeting. Last week was Diwali and Halloween. It literally was on the same day. Diwali is pretty much good over evil, scare away the monsters, but the monsters were there on the same day, and we were feeding monsters candy, so it was kind of a fun event. And I can say now District 4, because that's where I am, the kids were, nonstop. They were going on from like 6 to like 9:30, I think. So I think this was one of the best Diwali that I had. So it was amazing. And that's the end of my report.
I'm envious. We had 4.
Oh, I went through 3 bags of candy. Costco bag size.
Costco bags.
Yep.
Yeah, I found myself on Sunrise trying to head towards where I live, and I chose Zinfandel to get there on Halloween evening. And there were so many trick-or-treaters you could not drive down the street. Like, literally, it was almost impossible. It took me a long time just to go a couple blocks and exit. But the amount of Halloween activity was incredible over there. And there were an awful lot of decorated houses, so it was pretty fun.
This is where?
Pretty fun to see. Like Zinfandel between Folsom and Sunrise. really, really, really crowded, lots and lots of kids.
Old Rancho.
Yeah.
That's terrific because
Oh.
south of the boulevard, south of the freeway, zero.
Your neighborhood was very quiet?
Like I
Isn't
said,
it
I had
odd?
4. Even in Stone Creek, Peter had 10. Maria had 0.
Isn't that odd? Like,
Very, very
Van
odd.
loads of kids getting dropped off in front of my house.
I wonder.
Because that's where the parking is. There's no houses on the side.
I mean, I literally saw on social media where people were talking about, oh yeah, we're going to go trick or treat in, Sunrise Douglas area,
Right.
like from elsewhere.
My house is the most northern point too. So they
Yeah.
drop them there and then pick them up at the clubhouse.
Could be. That's very interesting. Let's see. My own activities for the city have apparently been extensive, but in terms of what to report on, awful lot of meetings going on. We hosted a great little throwing event over the weekend, which was cool to see people coming from all over and sort of talking about Rancho Cordova wear. I think I told you guys about that. It happened again. People asking me, where do we get our Rancho Cordova stuff? Merch, exactly. Yeah, we need apparently, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know if this is some hot current trend, but I've been asked for that a couple of times. Linda and I attended Sacramento Placerville JPA this morning. We were informally welcomed as an official board member of that agency. There's sort of a question about when that agency should undertake a master plan. It's kind of a chicken and egg question. It's got 2 counties, 2 cities, and regional transit involved as board members. So one view of it is that all those agencies ought to get together and do it. Another view is perhaps the agency ought to do it and lead those other agencies to some common view. It's kind of like a connector discussion for us with, multiple jurisdictions involved. So more to come there. The constant debate doesn't really affect our jurisdiction, but it's, do you have to rip out all of the rails so that we can have a trail? Or can we do a trail and rails, or should we just stick with the rail? Lots of debate like that. I suspect there is a way that everyone can have a win. We just have to find a way to get there. I attended a football game about a week and a half ago, which we did not win, but what was so inspirational is to see the way those kids reacted to the support they have been getting from the community this year. It's not about our role, but we were recognized. I was recognized for being there, and that was a big deal for them. Parents recognized it. On the sidelines, they recognized it. It was really kind of a powerful thing to see that group working together, even when they lost. And it wasn't necessarily a pretty win or a pretty loss. It was tough, really tough one. And it kind of gives you like hope for the future in a group of kids that can be viewed as, underprivileged in that community. So that was really that was like an uplifting thing for me to participate in. Let's see. I think that's going to be some of my report. Other than, I think like some of you, I participated in dictionary distribution, which is also a lot of fun. And the diversity you see between classrooms is actually kind of shocking. Like the way in which they're organized, the way in which they operate, and the way in which the kids greet you coming in as someone. It really varies a lot. So I feel like I need to talk to people about that. And with that, I think we're going to move on to City Manager's report. Well, we are going to close in memory of Supervisor John Hydal from El Dorado County, who passed away unexpectedly over the weekend at his home on Saturday. And he was a supervisor. I think was he in the last year of his 8 years?
Yeah, he was turning out this December.
I think so. He has served with me on the connector JPA for a number of years, and also on the Sacramento Placerville corridor for a number of years. An incredibly intelligent guy who worked for Aerojet for a couple of decades as a mechanical engineer and then as a manager. He was very well thought of, respected, honorable, extremely ethical, and always had great suggestions for the agencies he served on. So his loss is going to be felt. He was, I think, a candidate on the ballot to serve on the El Dorado County Water Agency. This next time is probably kind of a preferred candidate there. So we just want to close tonight in his memory and send condolences to his family on their loss. And with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to the city manager for his report.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Mr. Garcia for highlighting the good work of the team of celebrating Good Neighbor Day a week and a half ago or so. That really is, kind of an effort of the community engagement team to organize, but I will say there's probably 15 to 20% of our staff team at that event. So that isn't just kind of the work of community engagement, but that's, kind of all hands on deck and participating in the different things of bringing City Hall to the community. And so really thank the community engagement team for that, but also all of the different team members who are out there celebrating and having a good time in the community and talking about what we're up to at the city of Rancho Cordova. And then the other item is just I had a great time at the Diwali celebration at the BAP Center on Saturday, which was a lot of fun. That was my first experience at that event, and so really got a good education on kind of what that event is, and did some learnings as a part of that. And so really enjoyed myself at that event with Vice Mayor Pulapati, who was there. And then also we have heard the merch conversation, so we are talking about merch. So I will address that as we've had those different conversations around Rancho Cordova merch. So more to come on that.
Siri, I have a question. I was struggling here with my report, trying to remember my question. I'd forgotten the question. So Halloween Diwali, that is not always aligned?
No.
So how far away can they get, and how close do they get?
It's based on the lunar calendar, so it could come in October one year and it can come in November one year.
All right, I see. So this is unusually close.
It was on the same day.
Yeah.
The moon doesn't spin it on.
Right. That's awesome. All right. Any questions for the city manager? Otherwise, we're going to move on. Item number 9, consent calendar items. Consent calendar items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. Are there any items the council wishes to pull from the consent calendar?
Hearing none, move the calendar.
Second.
Did we receive any?
I would just like to acknowledge we did not receive any public comment for items on the
Thank you.
consent calendar.
Thanks to
All right.
everybody that didn't comment.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Councilmember Gatewood is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati.
Yes.
Mayor Sander.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to consent public hearing items, item 10. Consent public hearing items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. So I am going to open the public hearing. Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment for the consent public hearing items.
Okay, I will close the public hearing. Any items the council wishes to pull? If not, we are open for a motion.
Just clarifying with staff that this is not related to the other stormwater utility fee discussion that we had earlier this year. Okay, with that, I will move the item.
Second.
This is item 10.1 for anybody following. Motion made and seconded. All those in, I'm sorry, that's the old school. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Councilmember Gatewood is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati.
Yes.
Mayor Sander.
Aye.
Governing body in this
And it is, yeah, it is
We're the
painful
only one
because
that we do it.
everywhere else you would just say all in favor, opposed. But here now, we have to do a roll call on every item. Thank you.
city attorney over there.
Thank you, state legislature. Oh, it's not Adam's fault. It's the state legislature. I gotta assign the blame where the blame is due. All right, that brings us to item 11, public hearing items, of which there are none, and item 12, regular calendar items, and item 12.1. If the clerk would announce that subject, please.
A resolution adopting the 2025 Rancho Cordova City Council meeting schedule.
Highly controversial.
As the person who is absolutely not going to be here, I will move the item.
Second.
That's kind of ridiculous. All right.
I shouldn't get to vote on this. but,
Motion made and seconded. Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Also
for-
shocking. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Councilmember Gatewood is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati.
Yes.
Mayor Sander.
Aye.
You all have fun with those.
It's a lot of meetings, but that's good. We have a lot to work on.
We did add some additional ones, so hopefully you check your
Yeah.
calendars before you approve that.
All right, we are on to item 12.2.
12.2 Corridor Enhancement Plan.
Good evening, Mayor Sander and members of the council. Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. And our corridors to the city can be the first impression for many visitors to the city. And the city of Rancho Cordova has made great progress in adding beauty to those corridors, with a great example of that being the Folsom Boulevard corridor. And with the corridor enhancement plan, we'll outline the plans for continuing to add beauty to both create a unique look at each location, but also an underlying theme that cohesively ties all of those together. And Christine Cordy is going to give us more information on this.
Thanks, Albert. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. My name is Christine Cordy, Senior Engineer in Public Works Department. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're excited to present the proposed corridor enhancement and plan, receive input from the City Council, and then receive and file the final plan. So we were here in April this year going over the plan. So just a little bit of a reminder about the overview. So some of the goals of the project are to develop a set of design options for corridor enhancements that create a sense of place and community identity, support pedestrian and cyclist-friendly corridors, prioritize these improvements, and identify potential funding opportunities. So the corridors that we're focused our plan on are 6 major corridors in the city: Bradshaw Road, Old Placerville Road, Rotier Road, Matherfield Road, Zinfandel Drive, and Sunrise Boulevard. So we've been working on this project over the last 2 years, and we've done several community outreach meetings, which I'll discuss on the next slide, a lot of data gathering and work to develop this plan. So as I mentioned, we've done a series of public outreach. We've done 2 in-person meetings as well as 2 online surveys where we were able to reach over 200 people to get input on the project. And some of the themes that we heard were more trees, enhanced landscape. There were safety concerns for bike and ped facilities, address screening and wayfinding. People were supportive of monument signage and community art. So with that, I'm going to invite Eric Prince, a landscape architect from Atlas Labs, to go over some of the design themes and palettes and the toolkit that was developed as part of the project.
Is this on? Okay. Good evening, Council, Mayor Sander. Really happy to be here sharing with you the updates. As you recall, maybe from April, our plan has been guided by these design themes throughout the whole process: the Folsom Boulevard, American River, the Sunrise streetscape, and then throughout the unique placemaking opportunities that the city has developed. And then using these themes that we developed a palette. And so this is a palette that we shared with you last time, which we have updated to reflect latest comments, namely to increase the use of some evergreen trees that are not pines, more shade trees, and for example, an updated fencing such as what you see here at the youth center. And then the plan has also considered these opportunities for unique placemakings of art signs that we discussed at the last meeting. And so tonight we'll share with you the toolkit that we developed throughout this. And this is a sample toolkit that we think meets the project goals to inform the design decisions along each corridor. And so you'll see on the left a collage that gives you a flavor of the planting for each corridor and defines the materials and palettes for various conditions along the streetscape, medians, different intersections, and along the highway. And then these labels in the chart means that these conditions actually apply to those opportunities in each corridor. And all of the corridors recommend a consistent planting of large trees for shade, various oak trees and evergreen trees, and consistent median plantings to match existing corridors like on Folsom. So the pistache tree for fall color and crepe myrtle, for example. And then each corridor does have unique flowering trees to them, such as the Chinese French tree here on Matherfield. Many of the roads provide opportunities for native oak trees, like the iconic valley oak, but also where we have more narrow conditions, like on Routier, we include trees like the Italian cypress, which are also locally iconic. We've also introduced newer trees like the sky climber Quercus virginiana, which was suggested by the city arborist, which is more narrow and evergreen to maintain that year-round appeal. And one of the really exciting features of the toolkit is that we have wildflowers that are unique for each of the corridors. So these would be at strategic locations along the corridor. So here on Zinfandel, for example, we have the baby blue eyes, the official city flower. And Sunrise has epilobium, yarrows along Bradshaw and Old Placerville, native poppies at Matherfield, and penstemons along Routier. And then along the bottom, you'll note that there are drought-tolerant understory plants which remain consistent, and they are selected to maintain open views. And then also the application of materials. So on Bradshaw, for example, there are opportunities on the maintenance for unique stone features, fencing, and screening. So the toolkit does highlight unique site opportunities that are unique to each corridor. So for example, at Old Placerville, one of the big opportunities here is to create an opportunity of a new consistent median down the middle. And so this toolkit does reflect those opportunities that are unique. And then lastly, here are some of the 3 typical views of how those toolkits would be looking along various conditions along the streetscape, at community areas with medians and creative placemaking, and then along the highway frontages.
Thanks, Eric. So tonight we're looking to receive input from City Council on the proposed plan with ultimate direction to receive and file the final plan where we can incorporate the final input. The next steps are we're also excited on this agenda to present an initial implementation project, the Matherfield Road Enhancement Project, which you'll be seeing on the next presentation. Incorporate these items into capital improvement program updates, and then seek external funding opportunities. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions and receive any input.
I have questions.
All right, Linda, go ahead.
Surprise, surprise. So, so going back to the slide that has the basic palette on it, I appreciate the use of evergreen trees, but in the past, we've had, when we've had droughts, we've had information that all of us who've planted redwoods are used to planting redwoods, may have to find something different to plant. Italian cypress seems logical, but that's not what this is on the slide, so I'm not sure what that is. Question about the baby blue eyes, since we can't get them to grow. Is it really a good idea to plant them? They were a complete failure here at City Hall, and I don't know of anybody who's actually been able to grow them. So we might want to think about that. Under the column that says hardscape, the middle one says exposed aggregate, and I'm just wondering if exposed aggregate is actually a accessible approved surface for a public sidewalk or whatever that. I mean, this picture looks like a public sidewalk. So I'm just wondering if exposed aggregate is an approved ADA material.
That's a great question.
When I looked over at the specific streetscape toolkits, I didn't actually have time to look this up, and I'm sorry. I don't know what a sky climber oak tree is. It's not one that I've ever heard associated with this area. And I have no idea what a Coleruteria paniculata might be. Or Epiliobium canum. Sorry. I appreciate the mix of trees that bloom and trees that are just trees. That sounds like a really good idea. And I appreciate the fact that you're going to maintain the cobbles in part of the medians, because I came up Sunrise the other day and they're removing all the cobbles, but quite frankly, all those cobbles got covered up by dirt from time to time, so I understand that. It's just that originally the cobbles were used on Sunrise very specifically because of the dredgers around here, and the fact that if Rancho Cordova has one common feature, we have rocks. So, and it seemed like a really good thing to put in the median because it wouldn't need a lot of maintenance. And then the question is, there's probably some, and I did get a copy of the streetscape, the enhancement plan, and I appreciate that, and I'll look for additional information in there. Just wondering what the extent is on Zinfandel. So, Zinfandel is getting very well built between International and the city limits. So the question is, what part of Zinfandel would we do the median? And because we're about ready to turn on a new signal light at Baroque, you'd think we would want to try to do something about the median sooner rather than later so that you didn't have to come back and rip out whatever got installed with the signal light. Old Placerville. We had a lot of input about Old Placerville with the discussion of the roundabouts. And there's no question that Old Placerville could be greatly enhanced with a median and landscaping on the sides. And there's lots of room for improvement there. But people did have a really good point about the large trucks distributing the mobile vehicles, mobile homes out of the manufacturer there at Happy Lane. And so it's one of those things where, unfortunately, their turning radius may be such that it kind of precludes a median in some locations. So those were just the things that struck me looking at the presentation itself. And I don't need answers necessarily. Just I wanted to bring up those points so you would all have them.
Thank you. And certainly if there is something that you would like to dive into deeper, or if you're looking for specific answers, we can absolutely address those. Otherwise, if I'm hearing you correctly, we'll definitely take your comments and we'll go back and incorporate them into the document before we do the final filing.
Sure.
Okay, will do.
Sorry, I have a
Questions?
comment, but maybe not with respect to this, but just with the baby blue eyes piece of it, that if that's our plant for Rancho Cordova and it doesn't thrive in Rancho Cordova, is that the right selection? Just
Very good question.
Well, some of them got killed by the heat and some of them got eaten by the turkeys, and not one of the ones that were planted out front
Oh, no.
made it.
Huh?
apparently turkeys love them, so not every.
Turkeys eat anything. Turkeys eat rocks.
That probably means we have more turkeys than baby blue eyes. Not a good ratio.
We have a holiday coming up. We might want to work on addressing that with.
You say dressing?
Yeah. Well, and what is it? Friday, we'll have access in Rancho Cordova to America's favorite sandwich. That includes a lot of turkey.
All right, I think-
Capriati's, their stuffing cranberry sauce turkey sandwich is America's favorite sandwich. Evidently.
I think these
corridor
corridor enhancement plans are really important because we've got a lot of older neighborhoods that had never been properly planned for the streets that are running through them. And Routier is a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
You've got individually owned neighborhood fences of any variety and material type. The street is way too wide. There's inadequate sidewalks, frankly, on either side. You can bike it, we've put some paint out there, but it's not ideal. there's something we could do there that would be really special, that would include, a separated bike trail, like a class 1, narrow the street, limit the parking, and we've already done some work on Route here, but other corridors, the same
I was gonna say,
logic
as somebody
applies
who
to.
lived there and was the school board member, it's a lot better today than it
Yes,
was.
it is. It is far, far better. Actually, that's one of our first big rehab projects, I think, that we did over there. That was a while back. Safe routes to school, that we've done in that neighborhood, et cetera. But I think these plans are really important, and we have to think about how to fund them and how to roll them out to, like Cordova Lane's another example, a high-traffic street that cuts through a neighborhood, has private, walls on the side. The landscaping's terrible, frankly. It doesn't give the driver a good perception of the neighborhood. It doesn't give a pedestrian or a cyclist a real safe course through a neighborhood. So there's a lot of good that can come from this sort of work if we get it right and it's manageable. And whatever we put in has to be maintained at our sort of exceptional level. I'll repeat that little story about 4 years ago when I was mayor. The best criticism I got the entire year, I loved this criticism, this critique. It was, what are you guys doing on Folsom Boulevard? You maintain that so nice out there. It looks like Disneyland. Well, that's a terrible criticism, right? I mean, that's like the best criticism I've ever heard. If you're confusing Folsom Boulevard with Disneyland, we are doing something right. But I think, from a public order standpoint, you don't want disorder, you want everything in Rancho Cordova to look very nice, then doing these sorts of projects and being able to maintain them over time is critical. Because all too often, you can look at the RT corridor as an example. Build out the RT corridor, nice landscaping in some places along it, but no real plan for maintenance. Just kind of walk away. And you see that with county projects are typical that way. Have pretty nice landscaping on day one, and it just falls off a cliff. No one ever goes back and redoes it or maintains it.
Yeah, look at Folsom Boulevard west of Bradshaw.
Yeah.
I mean, they stuck some trees in there that look like they're going to need to come out if anybody ever wants to put a sidewalk in there.
Yeah, it starts really nice and just not maintained. So we cannot fall into that trap. Whatever we propose has to be maintained at that really high level to benefit the neighborhood. But I think this is a great start, and I'd like to see the final plan and then see how we can fund that idea and then apply it to our other corridors that are so in need of some uplift.
Good idea.
Any other comments or questions? And a giant one that falls into this category is Sunrise, like Folsom Boulevard, Sunrise South. That whole corridor needs major upgrade, needs undergrounding, needs unified landscaping, et cetera.
Yeah.
Okay. I meant undergrounding of utilities, by the way.
Yeah.
Underground utilities.
Not the trees.
Right. Not the trees.
Especially not by that Taco Bell.
All right, any other comments on this item?
We do have public comment for this item.
Very good.
Helen Whalen Bashaw.
Hello, everybody. It's me again. Helen Whalen Bashaw from the Tiffany area. I do have several things to say. Take crepe myrtles off the book because they are dirty trees. I own one, and my biggest regret was ever planting it, but it's too big and pretty that I'm not taking it out. It's only in my yard. We need to look at the cost. Most crepe myrtles are not allowed to grow in their natural state. They get trimmed back every year. So you got to look at the maintenance cost of some of these trees you're going to put in. Never consider a liquid amber. They are horrible. I believe that we need to research the trees, if they've ever been planted in this Rancho Cordova area and if they actually live, and what their longevity is. We don't want a whole bunch of trees that have a 30-year life expectancy and they're gone within 20, because then you have a void. Put a variety of trees in to compensate for the lifespan of the trees that you're going with. I don't believe in cobble or rock as a center formation covering because it's messy. You have leaves building up in it. You have trash. It's really messy. I think the bark is fine because without putting a ground cover down, because the bark will disintegrate and go back into the soil and add nutrients. You can always rebark using the program that, one of the houses in our neighborhood, we brought 97 yards of wood chips in for free just by following the arborist around. Let me see. I don't like the cypress trees. They're rat nests. I had one in my front yard and had more problems with the owls and the hawks going after the squirrels and the rats in it. Let me see. I think we need to have drought-resistant trees and landscaping. I don't agree with exposed aggregate because it can be slippery. So I think we need to look at overall cost of maintenance, and what the longevity is. Looking at other areas where some of this landscaping has been put in more than 10 years. Don't just settle on, the tree looks nice, but consider the year-round tree. What kind of flowers do they put on the ground? What's their maintenance? Because that's where you add a lot of costs, because in order to make the place look nice, you got to put in the maintenance costs. So that's pretty much what I have, but no crepe myrtles, please, no crepe myrtles. Oh, one other thing, you have to consider allergies. People are allergic to, eucalyptus trees and some of the other trees. So you need to take in white birch. You need to take in consideration some of these allergies, which a lot of people don't take in consideration. And
Please wrap up your comments.
Okay, and the big thing is safety for the motorists. Make sure that the trees are going to be high up, that they don't block signs. Thank you.
This is receive and file. Any other comments? All right, I think, do you have enough feedback?
We do, and one thing that I did want to add is that we've been extremely successful in doing these citywide plans that allow us to take a citywide view, whether it's the cohesiveness of the themes of the look and feel, the aesthetics, or whether it's safety, access to schools, have been very successful us to put together strong plans that have been strong application for grants that have allowed us to be very successful in obtaining federal, state, and local grants through SACOG, which proved really successful in Folsom Boulevard. We've also been very successful in construction of our trails, and we'll utilize this plan in that same way.
Very good. Did you have undergrounding of utilities along this corridor in this plan at any level?
It is not identified in this plan, but we do have our undergrounding plan that we're beginning the effort on this year, with definitely more information to come.
I know we have a study going on. Presumably, if we went out and sought a grant for, say, this segment, you got the plan done, you do the grant, that would also be the right time to think about how do we underground on the corridor if we're tearing stuff up.
The problem is, you know what it's like, it would cost way more than installing the landscape.
That's what we need to find out, yeah.
But I did notice at some budget presentation that you do have a fund established that you're contributing money to in order to underground things eventually.
Yes, and this is the study to set up the undergrounding district. And so this is just really the preliminary studies and planning to move to that next step of actually establishing an undergrounding district. So there, with this initial investment, there is no undergrounding specifically as a part of this, but this is setting us up for that successful future.
If I just weigh in, and I know we've talked about this before, and again, I only got a meeting or two left here, but we're talking about $1 billion or more problem to address. There's a lot of things we can do with $1 billion, and making, utilities go underground or spend that on public safety or schools, or 3 more city halls. So as we talk about this, unless it's somebody else's money, that's not something that the city should be spending their time with. That's just my 2 cents. But there's a lot you can do with more than $1 billion, and that's literally, what was it going to cost? $500,000 to underground the one that was going to cross over to the Rayleighs on that one corner, that one pole. So add that times, I don't know, what are there, 1,000 poles in this town, maybe
It's
more?
$1 million a mile.
There you go.
That was the old quote, yeah.
Well, and how old is that? Because if we're saying one corner is $500,000, and that was 5 years ago, and I'm guessing all those costs went up, including pensions and workers and steel and whatever else you want to talk about. I'm just throwing out there, maybe it's a $3 or $4 billion problem. So to solve an aesthetics problem, or do you use that for services? So.
That's an interesting comment. I don't have any idea what the dollar figure is we'd be talking about or what the scale would be. I do know that other communities that have upgraded corridors the way we did on Folsom Boulevard have pretty much done the undergrounding thing while they did that. So it must not be
Did they own their own utility district? Was it
no,
like
it's like
Roseville?
Fulton Boulevard in Sacramento County.
Fulton Avenue.
Fulton Avenue, sorry, in Sacramento County. They
Bud came in and undergrounded them too.
in a partnership arrangement. I'm not sure what the cost share was.
Interesting.
But somehow they were able to afford it, and they did it for, well, it's quite a few miles of it. There's another boulevard I can't remember the name of that has also been undergrounded. Anyway, yeah, I don't think it's quite as fiscally onerous as you just made it out to be. And I think that one quote was probably a bit of an exaggeration down at Sunrise.
I mean,
and Douglas,
that's
but-
what they asked us for out of our checkbook. So whether that was a partnership or not, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it
the
PG&E?
that's the no,
PG&E.
it's a smud pole, wasn't it? But
it was.
I mean, they replaced a wooden pole with a concrete steel one, I think. And if they were to underground it, the bill to us or Rayleigh's or somebody was $500,000 in 2017 or 2016, right?
Yeah.
So
I also suspect there's going to be a lot more demand for more wires on the existing poles. And so looking forward, as people are going to start charging their cars at their house,
Yeah.
you're going to need to double the
Well-
grid that goes to their house.
David will remember the
Putting all,
number.
and all the IT stuff, we're getting one fiber network put through, but other providers are putting wires and upgrading their existing systems.
I
So the
know
burden on the
David-
poles is getting bigger and bigger.
David remembers that the number of wires on Folsom Boulevard quadrupled between 95 and 2000. It was just appalling. We didn't, the first one was all four of the big black ones.
I mean, if
that are the lowest ones.
If someday there's funding that goes beyond fixing this from an aesthetic problem, that it's a capacity problem, I mean, there's now funding to deal with lead pipes throughout this country. If there was funding along those lines, then fine. But I'm just saying that to take that out of $100 million general fund to start to address it, it's a BB gun at a freight train,
But we do need to compliment Albert and his department because decades ago, the city of Lincoln started a fund, and they simply it was a small amount of money on building permits, and so ultimately, as they amassed X amount of dollars for a project, they did that project in the downtown Lincoln area. And they simply worked their way around town, but it was because they had contributed, they had started a fund, and then as that grew, and so I'm assuming that's what this special district will do. It will set up a vehicle to collect money to ultimately do things as money is accumulated.
It's actually a little bit different than that. The district would be funded by the city. A few different options on options and considerations on this also. The $1 million a mile, you're absolutely correct. That is an old number that was utilized, and the new number is something higher than this. Something higher than that for undergrounding 69 kilovolt lines, the high power lines, usually at the very top of those poles. One of the opportunities that we do hope to leverage funds that are available through SMUD, and they have given us a letter of intent to partner with us. So this study that we're embarking on now is going to help us to understand what those actual costs are. As we move forward so that we can better prioritize it amongst all of the needs around the city. When we start looking at the safety facets of it, some of the benefits of undergrounding, whether or not it's worth the cost, Some of the benefits are it could remove some or all of the above-ground poles, which sometimes are hit by vehicles, which one can cause the immediate accident, can also result in outages of power or other communications facilities, whatever lines are on there. So those are some of the potential safety aspects. I realize also there are many priorities around the city, and of course it'll be a policy decision just to decide where do we start tackling those first.
Well, we're really lucky that our lines on Folsom Boulevard are only 12 kV to begin with. So we don't have to worry about 69 kV on the boulevard. But the other thing we've seen, you're right, some of the poles, as they get old, we've had poles leaning dramatically in large wind or rainstorms. So there's always that issue to deal with also.
And the winds are only getting worse. Yep.
Yeah.
You're correct. In many places, they have the old wood poles, and the modern standard is to use the steel.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, good discussion. If there's nothing else, we're going to move on to item 12.3, if the clerk would announce that subject.
Matherfield Enhancement Project Update.
All right, Albert, Edgar, who's taking this one?
And this is a first implementation of the plan and shows us right away what can be accomplished through this. And Edgar's going to take it away for us.
Mayor Sander, council members, Edgar Medina, Public Works Department. I'm happy to come and present one of the first implementation projects that falls into the corridor enhancement plan that Christine just presented. So what we have tonight under item 12.3 is the Matherfield Enhancement Project, which I believe some of the council members might be aware of this. Over the last couple of years, we've been talking about this corridor and some of the improvements, which in essence was the kind of the impetus of the corridor enhancement plan and kind of looking at all the corridors that enter the city. So for tonight's presentation, the intent is to present the proposed project, receive input from council on the project, and then ultimately incorporate it into the final design. So as mentioned earlier, we have 6 project corridors, Bradshaw, Placerville, Retier, Matherfield, Sinfidel Drive, and Sunrise Boulevard. The one that we're going to concentrate tonight is Matherfield Road, which is going to be, really the project's going to be a portion of that entire corridor. So the corridor expands from Folsom Boulevard down to International. But really what you'll see on the next couple of slides is a couple of the components that really are on the north side of the interchange to Croydon. The intent of the design is really to stay within the goals of the corridor enhancement plan, which is to create a sense of place and community identity, support bike and ped facilities along the corridors, prioritize the improvements, and of course, always look for funding opportunities. So a couple of things, like I mentioned, we're really focused on the interchange itself and moving north. So we have 5 opportunity locations, starting from the north and working my way down to the south. At Croydon, we have the pergola and sidewalk that we're proposing, an entire wall aesthetic along the east side, 6-foot perimeter wall along the back of sidewalk, a CMU block wall, which is really the sound wall along the Caltrans right-of-way. And then you'll have a pergola at Croydon. I'm sorry, I already mentioned that. Bridge fencing at the interchange, and of course, some landscaping. So this is the first opportunity that I want to discuss. This is the wall veneer aesthetics along that easterly side wall, which right now is painted with yellow paint, and then some brick veneers that the Leadership Rancho Cordova class number 16 installed. So part of that is then to reface the pilasters and also the wall with real stone veneer along that. And then one of the thoughts that we had also is to salvage the brick veneers that actually has the RC, the Leadership Rancho Cordova names on it, and incorporate that somewhere else. So we do want to salvage some of those components to be reused. The next is actually at the intersection of Croydon and Matherfield. So we come up with a pergola design and a planter design that still incorporates the same aesthetic treatment veneer along the face, and then have a little planter area that currently exists there, but actually elevate it a little bit more with a steel or aluminum pergola. And this will wrap around the returns and actually kind of incorporate into some of the fencing that the private property has to kind of alleviate some of the damaged fencing that exists there now. Of course, we want to incorporate landscaping. So this is the upper image is a view looking northeast along the two parts, the landscaping that lacks in that area, and then also the what's going to be converted to a CMU block wall, sound wall, along the Caltrans right-of-way. So that'll be like an 8-foot sound wall that we follow along the perimeter of the right-of-way line. That'll, one, protect the residents and also provide a continuous look. Because right now what you see out there, it actually stops at about midway around the return, goes into different types of fencing from that point all the way to Mather Field. So we wanted to continue that same sound wall all the way to
Where is that? Go back.
Yep.
Is that?
This is looking northeast as you're coming off at the westbound off-ramp.
Heading towards the base.
Heading north towards Folsom Boulevard.
Towards Folsom Boulevard.
Yeah, so right now in the picture.
I can't place where that is. Okay, I'll go look. That's fine.
Yeah, so if I go all the way back, I could just quickly tell you where the opportunity area is. So right there where it says landscaping, it's right in that area. So as you're
past the highway. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, thanks.
So this interchange, once upon a time, was redone by Caltrans in partnership with the city. And as I recall, that was kind of an experiment by Caltrans, and they were going to hand it off to city maintenance, I think. This is going back like 15 years, Linda. And that was viewed later as like a failed experiment at what the landscaping choices they made there, because things didn't last, weren't retained, they didn't, whatever. Things were not appropriately maintained. And a former public works director was able to transfer it back to Caltrans. And we thought at the time that was a great success to get this project that we couldn't really fix because they wouldn't let us, but they were asking us to maintain it. So we're kind of like looking at that again. How much of this Caltrans interchange can we now touch? I'm sort of thinking about that history.
Well, I don't know the history on that part of it, but I could tell you what we've done over the last year. And every element that you see here has been coordinated with Caltrans.
Okay.
And in terms of the landscaping, it's one of the components that it is presumed that once the project is done, or at least completed and authorized, that the city will be maintaining that.
Could you show us that picture again? It's just interesting what? Using Apple Map shows a lot more trees right there. Must have had a lot died lately. No, look, I mean, there's way more trees.
Maybe Apple stuck in a bunch of apple
That's why I
trees.
was struggling to see.
Oh, yeah, that's a little further back.
Well, there's way more there.
Yeah, that's light at,
It's a little bit further up.
yeah, this is further up than that.
Yeah, I mean, to the right of this picture is about 50 trees. So you got like the absolute worst picture of that side.
But it's
I
also
get it.
focused on that terrible wall back there. That
Yeah,
terrible
where
fence.
they have wooden fencing. Yeah.
The one below is taken from a little further back, right?
I said, this looks like what Caltrans didn't try to fix whenever they did this thing 15 years ago, right? So, okay.
And then the last area of opportunity is actually the bridge railing. So over the last year, we've been working with Caltrans, and not necessarily on the bridge fence type, which is the standard fence that you see on Sinfidel Drive, the White Rock POC, and the Matherfield, but really more the bracketing. Since we're not changing the structure itself, we had to work heavily with their structural department to come up with a way to actually affix this fencing onto the side of the structure. So that's been really a very long process, to be honest, to get approved. But this does represent an opportunity to enhance at least the visibility and also standardize a little bit of our overcrossings along Highway 50. So with that, I mean, I'm here to receive input from council on the project, with ultimately getting into the final design, and then hopefully we advertise in the winter, and advertise an award of contract in spring, and hopefully start in the summer.
It'd be cool with that fencing on the overpass, if there'd be some sort of artistic element, like a wave going through it or something, as opposed to just, there's a bunch of different kind of, or just a different panel repeated
Geometric, yeah.
endlessly. I don't know if Caltrans would agree to something like that, that, you know, you could have that as the base and then just put something else on it. You know, another black metallic wave or, I don't know, some geometric
I
pattern,
mean, they
whatever
allow
would
it. The number of times I've had to drive down 99 or got to drive down Highway 99 in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
There's one set out there. I don't know what this has to do with anything, although there's a very similar one in Stockton. But somebody got to put elephants. So they had them, and then they have these elephants looking like they're running across with little elephants and stuff from both ways, and they have it on two overpasses in between each other, like in the middle of, I shouldn't say nowhere, but I'm not really sure where that was. But Stockton has one very similar that has like oak leaves on it, that they just like, it was a normal fence looking thing, and then they put a bunch of oak leaves.
Well, you know, there's
So they do it.
stuff on the median fence on Watt Avenue.
Like the birds.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then I think on the fencing in Folsom, don't they have trains?
Oh, maybe.
It's between
On Highway 50?
it's between Iron Point and Blue Ravine. They have one of the big electric boxes in there.
That is actually a really good idea. Now that we're reviving everything, maybe if we have a theme, that way we could start putting it in all these places and everywhere it'll unify the whole theme. So rather than coming up with a new one each time, maybe have a workshop on a certain theme. That way you
Solid
can
cell
start.
boosters.
Well, actually, since Cyrus had got all those perfectly gorgeous birds on the concrete wall, maybe this fence should have birds.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I have a question. On the stretch going south, there's that massive set aside to someday add more turn lanes and everything else. Is there any conversation about maximizing the flow of that side? And the reason I ask is impatient drivers with large wheels are increasing the capacity of that road anyways, especially when it's not raining. So they're driving through there all the time anyways. Is there any way that we can get that finally paved and utilized?
Are you
Or is it just a pipe dream?
Are you referring to the southwest corner of that
Yeah.
interchange?
Yeah.
That has a huge open space with.
It looks like they set aside to put like 4 more turn lanes.
I don't know the current status of that or conversations with Caltrans. That's certainly something we can look into. We've definitely identified that as an area in need of aesthetic improvements, including there's also chain link fence behind there that is owned by the city. And so this definitely goes under the category of utilizing this long-term plan and piece by piece addressing those. So that we
Or even hard barriers to stop people from going through the field that's still there. Because literally, if you are a large truck and you don't want to wait for everybody to turn right, they just drive right through there. So, I mean, at some point, either block it or use it.
That's definitely an area we've had our eyes on, and we can talk to Caltrans more about unless Edgar has already had some conversations with Caltrans on that topic.
Just preliminary discussions, but they don't have any plans for it right now, but it was certainly something we could continue to advance. As Albert mentioned, it is on the corridor enhancement plan as areas of opportunities, and we could certainly continue to advance that.
I think we've said for years that that's the most underplanned turn area. Like, obviously, they left it there for some reason to get things onto the base or whatever, that they were going to do something else. And now, 50 years later or whatever, you still have this just huge thing. And as somebody who used to live over there and watched 5 o'clock traffic trying to go south, that like it's just a madhouse at that for the right turns. So whatever we could do, adding a yielded turn like we did out here or other things like that makes a heck of a lot of sense if we could widen it and do it.
So on the slide that has the pergola, that one, it's a great idea. I mean, it's really terrific. We have several areas where that have been historically entrances into neighborhoods, and they've lost their character or just totally disintegrated. So my question is, why not keep the original lettering?
You mean the font? Like the font?
Yeah.
That certainly is an option. I mean, as a design team, we came up with a new logo, but we do
Well,
intend
it's
to.
very plain.
Yeah. Correct. We could certainly use the existing lettering. We do intend to salvage that for for that reason if we wanted to use it, or if the neighborhood itself wanted to repurpose it somewhere else. But we do tend to, we were planning to at least salvage it.
You think that font, Linda, is from the 50s, the 60s?
Yeah, 57-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, if you think about it, the entrance into South White Rock from Folsom Boulevard, and they have one of the big brick monument, entry monuments left. The one on the other side got taken down by light rail and the county. Or somebody ran into it and it fell apart or something like that, I forget. And then people are always talking about what happened to the old rocking horse signage at Rosemont. You know, it's those kinds of things. There's not always a reason to just modernize for the sake of modernizing.
And we can definitely maintain that font. The scale of the existing font may not work in the space that's available on this particular design, but I appreciate your point, and I think that could look really good. So we can certainly replicate the font, maybe potentially at a slightly different size in order to fit the new facility.
And maybe salvage this and like install that somewhere on City Hall as like a seating wall or something over at the Children's Museum.
It sounds like the signage at the food court at the G1C.
Yeah, I would say actually salvage the letters for future
was your
use.
comment to salvage these letters or just, use that font for the new one? So that
Both.
Yeah, they could, but then but still, like Councilmember Linda mentioned, just keep the same font. That way, whether you salvage it or not, that's a whole different story. But that way, it keeps part of this. My question on this pergolas is, I mean, it's good visually appealing, but does it provide any shade, or the whole point of this is just to make it visually appealing?
The intent is for aesthetic purposes. It's not intended for people to congregate there for shade.
Thank you.
You're getting some shade from just all the electrical lines that are running overhead. They're right there. See the pole right there, right in front of the, just the undergrounding discussion. There it is, right there, right?
We used to have the stagger in letters in storage, and then between moving from Gold Canal to over here, they disappeared. And nobody, there's.
We could bring them out and burn one a year or something.
Yeah, no,
The staggering.
believe me, they were very important around here.
The only question I'd have about changing or moving the font or reusing the font is, would that font work with this design? I don't know what that font was designed to suggest. Was that trying to suggest this is like, a cool medieval wall? Like this is a walled city you're entering into?
Yeah, so medieval, yeah.
Like medieval or, I'm not sure what was the design intent of the original font, or what does it say now, right?
Whatever goes with town, it ends with the E.
Town with an E, so that's like what the British spelling maybe, yeah.
All I know is that entrance with it on both sides just reminds me of Back to the Future. At the neighborhood that he lived in, remember?
Oh, really?
He went out there and there were no houses in like they were just building. All they had was this.
Yeah.
That's right.
Brick things.
There were no houses there. There was just this
Yeah.
thing at the front of the two, where the entrance was.
Yeah.
Because we don't tend to do it we don't tend to put it on both sides anymore, right? Like it just, I don't know. It is a little dated, and that fencing. I was just mentioning this to David. That fencing in the last 10 years, that's because a car ran into that. So that's been. I mean, this is overdue for doing something there for these folks. So I applaud doing. I like everything about the new one. I say salvage it and use the bricks somewhere to do something interesting if we can. But by all means, these folks deserve something nicer than that.
Yeah, and I think as far as you can wrap those walls into the neighborhood, onto the private property, if possible, gives them more shielding from the street. So it also makes it just look more substantial, and a little more modern to have it go as far in there as you can. Because I think, the house on the left here in that upper photo, there's like 3 types of fencing that are in use right there on that corner. It's not a very attractive look, for them or for us. And as Donald was talking about, the car damage to this facility has been extensive in the past. But the one question would be, if you take that font, the old font, and apply it to this, does that, in a design sense, still work? Like, is this, I don't know, I'll make something up. Is this like a modern, clean garden kind of look? And that's what we're saying, and then we just slap some medieval letters on it. Like, is that a mismatch, right? Like, suppose we could ask the neighbors. That'd probably be some interesting input there.
I feel a charrette coming on.
I know I suggested, actually, that we update the font about 10 or more years ago, and I got real pushback from the neighborhood saying, oh, no, why would you want to do that? Exactly what Linda just said, but don't take that as
A
gospel.
lot of new homeowners and residents over there.
Yeah, should probably go ask again. On the intersection itself and the landscaping and general appearance there, those intersections are like the front doorstep of our community. So you're coming to Rancho Cordova, if you've never been here before, and you exit off of Highway 50 and you look around and you see gravel, ruts through it as people take shortcuts down on that side, weeds, nothing cared for. It's just like, that is a terrible front doorstep. Front doorsteps should be, as we all know, really attractive places. Like, welcome you to Rancho Cordova. Ooh, look what a wonderful place this is. It should not be yeah, I guess it's their place.
There's not another spot off of the highway that looks like that I can think of.
Oh, yeah, this is the ugliest one.
Yeah, and then that corner.
Yeah.
Is like, and clearly they left it for something someday, but someday hadn't come, so.
Yeah, the southwest corner we're talking about. Do you have any plans for how to upgrade the southwest corner of it?
It's not a part of this project, but it's certainly a part of the corridor master plan. And so the plan would be to take elements that you're seeing here and that we've talked about in the previous presentation and do a custom design for that corner as well. We're very interested also, that's one of the last very visible locations of chain link fence that we have direct control over. And so it's quite an extensive length of it. So it will be quite expensive, but it is a high priority because of the location and the visibility to address the fencing and see what we can do with landscaping and beautifying that whole corner as well.
Southeast side's a little messy too, but there's also a drainage canal thrown in there. All right, any other comments on this?
Do you have comment?
We do not have any public comment for this item.
And I heard the interest also in adding an artistic element to the fencing on the bridge going over Freeway 50. There are other corridors and other bridges, including over Zinfandel, where we've had a lot of conversations with council and received input on some of the potential aesthetic treatments there. So we can look at those comments and the ideas we have for Zinfandel and identify thematic ways that we can stretch that to this corridor as well, and also seeing what's possible with Caltrans at this stage of the design.
Good. All right, any other comments? If not, we're moving on to our next.
I need to leave. I have a meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Siri. We are moving on to item 12.4.
Hooray. The item is the Baroque Drive traffic calming update.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And Albert, I think you're up again.
The city of Rancho Cordova inherited many roadways with older designs of them that are less pedestrian and bicycle friendly than what our expectations are for the city of Rancho Cordova. And we've been very successful by implementing various tools that we have for traffic calming and making these more neighborhood friendly and all-inclusive roadways. Baroque Drive is one of those examples, and Ben Chan with our Public Works team is going to tell us more about the work we've been doing and the proposals to move forward on that location.
Thank you, Albert. Good evening, Mayor Sander and council members. I'm Ben Chan with the Public Works Department. Tonight, we're giving an update on the Baroque Drive traffic calming project. The project location is the entire length of Baroque Drive from Zinfandel, northern end, to the southern end of Zinfandel. And with this project, we're anticipating to add a pilot mini roundabout at the intersection of Kilgore and Baroque. Now I'm going to pass this on to Edgar to talk a little history of this project.
Thank you, Ben. So just as a reminder, Public Works was in front of council presenting this, I think roughly just about a year ago, where we talked about some of the concerns that the residents had along Baroque Drive. Primarily, their top concerns were speeding and cut-through traffic. So the city and staff actually have been having some preliminary design efforts that have been done over the last year. We met with the community at the park to get their input, and then we presented to council and received your guys' input to kind of incorporate that into the design. And over the last year, we've actually hired a consultant, come up with preliminary designs, and actually we're at the final design stage here presenting tonight to really kind of get this project over the finish line. We've also more recently have taken the opportunity at the Good Neighbor event at Stone Creek Park to kind of present the current improvements that are being proposed and kind of solicit any input. Overall, overwhelmingly from the people that were in attendance, they were very supportive of the current design, which Ben is going to continue to describe moving forward.
Thank you, Edgar. So the design, basically, the overall design is adding buffer bike lane. We're restriping the travel lanes to narrow down to 10 foot per each direction. We're also adding high visibility crosswalks at selected intersections. Then we're also installing a pilot mini roundabout at the intersection of Kilgore. Here we have Kilgore and Baroque. The design of the project will be adding rubber curbs, rubber medians, and also high visibility crosswalks. The left of the screen shows a design, of the intersection. Then the picture on the right kind of show what the curb will look like. It's rubber and with yellow stripes. Our next steps will be, finalizing our construction documents and bid it out. We're hoping to get this in construction in spring of 2025. The project currently is estimated at $2 million total. After the construction, we'll collect data, continue to collect data, and also reach out to the community and get feedbacks and also collect more data. After the construction, we'll also consider additional modifications or improvements as needed and as see fit. If that's going to conclude our presentation. If council has any questions or comments, feel free. Thank you.
Could you go back to the...
Could it be a little bigger?
This? Well, we maximize the circle so that, it could still accommodate the fire truck movement going through or making the left turn or right turn. So if we increase the circle any bigger, then that's going to be a little more challenging for, school bus or bigger vehicle going through. So,
I understand.
Yeah.
And we do have school bus, actually, so.
You can design these to be pretty effective. I think I've shared this before, but the hotel that I stay in Porterville, where my bank is headquartered, they put one of these in right next to a Walmart distribution center. So there are semis going through this roundabout constantly. Like out of the back of that hotel, you're just staring at the Walmart distribution center. Wow. And they have this is different than, that one was the size of the ones that you see out on not Grant Line, but Bradshaw in Elk Grove or on the way there. So you can design them to be fine for trucks and other things too. And I didn't believe that till I saw that one and watched over a night how many of those trucks go by. And they can make the full left turn and come all the way through, and it's not a big deal. But I like this. I'm always jealous. You probably know him. The mayor of Carmel, Indiana, will almost always if you ask him what's going on with his city, he'll literally say, we have the most roundabouts in
I've got 178 roundabouts and I'm working on 182.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about your city. We have more roundabouts than anybody on the planet. And we share the same DC lobbyist, so I always want to catch up to that guy. So, but yeah, in general, I like it.
It's amazing this is $2 million to me.
For a bunch of rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, you question me on how expensive it is to underground
Painting and
utilities.
I guess there's curb work here, right? New crossing location. Yeah.
If I may add just a few items, the intersection of Kilgore and Broke is quite large, which is one of the challenges that we have there, and probably larger than the example image that we have on the right there. So the actual roundabout in our case will likely be larger than what we see in the picture there. We will also be filling it with stamped asphalt. And so it'll look more finished than what we see.
The center of it will be that.
The center of it, yes. So we will have that rubber curbing around, but we are going to put asphalt in there. This is one of the first roundabouts in Rancho Cordova. Not the first, but it is one of the first roundabouts in Rancho Cordova. And so this gives us an opportunities for a few things. We've done a lot of work and research and design, and so I do feel very comfortable with this design. But nevertheless, it does give us the ability to collect data, hear feedback from the community, and take in those and have opportunities at relatively less expense to modify it as well. So for instance, in the future, if we hear a lot of positive feedback from the community, we would have the ability to come back and put landscaping within it, replace the rubber curbs.
Tree.
We could add trees as long as we don't obstruct visibility through there. And permanent curbing and concrete along those lines. With regard to the cost is not just for this intersection, it's for the entire corridor of the entirety of Broke. And a lot of that cost stems from the need to completely redo the striping through here.
Okay.
And so
That makes more
what that
sense.
necessitates is we need to slurry seal the entire road.
Oh, okay. Now you're talking.
That makes
Now
sense.
you're talking real money.
So a lot of that cost is coming from slurry sealing the road. The good news is we're scheduled within the next 2 to 4 years to come back to this neighborhood and do a slurry seal anyway. So this is, the road is at actually a really great time to receive a slurry seal to preserve the integrity of the road and prolong the useful life of the road so that those dollars will not be wasted. This Broke will just be done ahead of time, and when we come in 2 to 4 years from now, Broke won't need to be done and we'll catch up on the rest of the roads. But that's the source of the higher cost than probably initially expected.
Did I miss? Because I know part of this was also the amount of truck traffic that they were seeing through here. Is there any plans to put signs somewhere that say large trucks should continue down somewhere else or don't enter into this neighborhood?
We can certainly add signage along those lines, and this
Don't turn left to go down here, right? Go all the way to
And we've talked
Zinfandel.
about that. When you come off the hill, signs that say entering a neighborhood.
Yeah. Not open to commercial traffic, something along those lines. I don't know. And up at the turn lane that you would take into there, because that's kind of what's facilitating this was those kinds of complaints already.
Yeah.
And we can certainly add signage along those lines. This first phase along the length of Broke is largely focusing on striping and paint. And in our initial, and we think that's a great way to start this as we collect data. Potential additional improvements that we could look at in the future is a permanent, if the community is happy with with phase one, potential future steps could include permanent installation of the roundabout. It could also include some concrete treatments to narrow the lane. So right now, all of this work is paint to narrow the lanes, which I think will discourage truck driving to a certain extent, along with signage. Certainly, if we were to narrow those lanes with concrete as well, that could further discourage truck traffic to go through
Pinch
there.
points or something.
Correct. So particularly narrowing where pedestrians are crossings and at intersections.
The bulb outs,
Correct.
like you did on White Rock.
Correct. Some of the feedback that we heard from the residents at one of the first community meetings was to focus on paint in a first phase. And so we have largely focused there. But we have a lot of instruments that can help us to collect data. We have a really good data set of before this project that was collected recently, and we'll install the project, collect data that'll help us understand how effective are these improvements and help to suggest what for additional next phase improvements could include.
Are there additional intersections along Baroque where you could imagine putting a roundabout, or are they too small?
Too small.
This
are pretty small streets I've seen.
This certainly highlights the most likely location. And so this is where we recommend that we start, especially since this is a bit of a pilot for this neighborhood. And we've heard, as Edgar mentioned and Ben mentioned, we heard a lot of positive input from the community, but we do want to start in probably the most highly recommended location. And if the data suggests that it's useful, and if we continue to get positive feedback from the community based on the actual installation, we can certainly look for other locations, both on Baroque or also other neighborhoods as well. So
this is Baroque and Prospect Park or Kilgore?
No, Kilgore.
Kilgore, okay,
Yeah.
okay, just make sure.
And actually, Kilgore is the biggest one.
It's an entrance to the neighborhood, basically.
Yeah.
To me, Prospect Park looks bigger, but that's four-way.
They're both quite large.
Yeah.
I would say both of those intersections are of a
Oh,
similar
that's true.
size.
There's another one there. That's right.
That one, logistically, that one's probably harder. I should have been able to tell the difference because this is the three-way Prospect Park.
We had a meeting with residents, I think, about this topic, right? Or generally traffic calming in the neighborhood?
We had, last year we had, it was about a year ago or so, we had did a neighborhood outreach meeting and got a lot of feedback from communities
I
and
remember.
really great attendance at one of the local parks right there in the community. And we got a lot of great feedback that we talked about at the first council meeting that we brought this information. And then as Edgar mentioned, we also went to Good Neighbor Day, and both Ben and Edgar were there with displays. And there were a lot of neighbors were coming up and asking about information and receiving a lot of information. And I also had a chance to talk to a few of those neighbors that were there asking questions to really get some feedback on how they felt about these. And I also heard a lot of positive feedback and interest in moving forward with this design.
Very good. Any other comments? Any public comment?
Yes, we do have one public comment, James Garcia.
Hello, James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. I definitely haven't been attending, as Albert mentioned. Went to the Good Neighbor, saw it there, saw it at the original one at Tuscany Park. But just on Friday, the 1st here at 12:45 p.m., I was actually returning from dropping off my ballot and was turning onto Baroque from Zinfandel and captured a nice little FedEx big rig turning or coming from the neighborhood. And that's what we really want to prevent. It's not a truck route. We know it. We love the idea of the roundabout. But we wanted to make sure, will it prevent this type of truck coming through on your design? That's what we really want to make sure. Hopefully it can, but we want to make sure though that the fire vehicles can actually go. So we want to make sure that we are safe in the neighborhood. But that's the idea. Ultimate goal is kill them off from there. Don't come down Kilgore. Put the signs up, as you mentioned. We'd love that type of a functionality to say, don't turn left or right, because depending on which way you're coming off of International, that's really where they're coming down that way. They're using it as escape, and they immediately turned into Bold Beauty Warehouse after going through Zinfandel on that day. And then we witnessed another truck coming out, but I didn't get a chance to pick that picture. But again, they are still coming with the big rigs, and that's what we really want to stop.
You're saying a FedEx big rig?
A FedEx big rig.
Drove into Bold and Beauty?
Yes.
Not into Mather or into the processing center?
Nope. Went into Bold Beauty, at least in the back there. So it probably was going to Temco or something like that. But on the back of it, they went straight through from Baroque, North Mather, and turned right into Bold Beauty.
So Do you think they're coming, what, off of 50
I
at
think
Sunrise
I think they're
to
coming off of
International
50
to
Sunrise
Gilmore?
International, or they're coming off of Kilgore because they have that center right off of
Guys,
one of the
their
spots.
their office is over on
Yeah.
Gold Canal.
Gold Canal, yes.
So,
it's right
so
behind
all they needed to do was turn onto International
National.
and go down to Zinfandel.
Exactly. That's what
the
we want them to
puzzlement.
do, but they're not
Yeah.
doing that. We're seeing this type. We see Temco trucks, no
What the hell would
problem.
be the point of going into Bold and Beauty?
Just
They're trying to get to Mather. The big trucks
You
should
would
be coming
think.
from the transfer and go to Mather.
You would think, but
to pick
that
up
one
from a
went
plane.
into Bold Beauty, though.
They're delivering to Bold Beauty.
They delivered something to
With
Bold
a
Beauty.
big rig?
But they had the
They don't
big
deliver with a
rig.
big
I
rig.
have the
Not
big
normally,
18-wheeler
no.
here that they came across.
He probably stopped us.
But they're doing that a lot, and it's not just this one. That's what was originally on our things. They were coming from North Mather even, and going on to Baroque, and then using it to get up to International, and then on to Sunrise, or to their distribution there on Gold Canal. So that's really what's still happening. That's why we really love the idea of the roundabout, because it will circumvent some of it, and the signs definitely entrance into off of Zinfandel into Baroque, as well as up there at International and Kilgore would be probably helpful. But
ticketing a few truck drivers.
I would love for you to get them out of there. But
a big rig can drive over some of this stuff.
I know they can, and that's why we don't mind it being soft. It's again, it's the first phase. We don't want to destroy the neighborhood, because they will start doing that. But if they start driving over it, yeah, we'd maybe want it more permanent. Let's get the nice spike tires and let's blow them out, But then we'll really know who the bad culprits are. But that's really what it is. And love the idea of the high-vis stop sign there at Corvina, because that is where kids are. They are crossing constantly, and they just speed right through it. So hopefully they'll see it. But having any type of a path with the greenery, the trees, we love it, but it obscures some of the signs. So I would love for that to kind of be taken into account in all the other areas too, when you add trees. So think about that. But thanks for finally doing it. It's taken a long process, and like you said, the slurry would be great to go ahead and take care of it, and maybe by doing that, it'll reseal and preserve the life of this particular road that has been abused by all these big rigs for 20 years. So, thank you.
Thank you, James. So Linda, if we were in the South, that sort of roundabout is where we would put a statue of Mayor Budge. But we have a visibility issue apparently, so it's going to have to be made out of glass.
Oh, you make a much bigger statue than I do, baby.
I was about to say that the stature of the statue could change how much visibility you have.
Yeah.
Like
a little
That's why-
statue.
that's why he's a much better statue candidate.
Right.
So
There
I
might be
think-
more obstruction if they built it your size than her size.
So do I remember that we're actually approving this?
This would be
Doesn't say an action item, does it? Just says
Receive
receive the
project
project
update,
and provide feedback.
feedback.
This would be the best time to provide any feedback or input that City Council is looking for us to incorporate. The next time we would propose, unless Council provides a different direction, the next time this would come to Council would be for approval of the construction contract. So we will take any input we received from Council at this time, we'll incorporate it in the plans, and then we'll be returning with a construction contract for.
Add signs is, I think, the only other thing, or speed will be, will be enforced or something like that, like whatever we can do that starts to dissuade them from wanting to go through there.
Will do.
I think the more permanent this looks, like the more substantial it looks, the nicer it looks, the better. The one in the photo was not particularly attractive. It had a sort of temporary, slap this thing in here look, something that's a little more, you said stamped asphalt, I think was one of your potential goals.
We would fill the center with stamped asphalt.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever can be done to make it just more aesthetically attractive. And I don't know what the signage standard is, but obviously, the signs that explain how to get around the roundabout that you probably legally have to put up there. To the extent those are small rather than giant, you know what I mean? Just a very clean, neat, attractive look that somehow works with the neighborhood, existing neighborhood design. Colors or stone or whatever it is. Try to make it fit in, look like it was always supposed to be there. All right, anything else?
Thank
Very
you.
good, thank you. That was item 12.4. That brings us to apparently the heated item of the night, or the big item of the night, item 13. Council requests for future agenda items. Thank you for waiting, Doug.
No, that's fine. So first, I want to thank the folks that came tonight and that have been coming for the better part of a year to talk to us about this issue. It had probably been my intent tonight to suggest that we move forward with discussing this at a meeting. My initial feedback would be that out of 9 whereases, there's half of one on the 4th. No.
You shouldn't be talking about the substance of the item. You should not be commenting. You should be asking to agendize it or discuss it, but you shouldn't be getting into a substantive debate on the item.
That
It's
is
not
that
on the
is a
agenda.
difficulty we've got with this.
Yeah. So at this time in my...
It's not just for the audience, it's not agendized.
Yeah, so we
the
really can't get
level
into
of
it.
detail
You're
of
right.
which we can discuss it is very limited.
You're right. I would say, in looking at this, I appreciate the draft. I appreciate the effort. It is far from perfect, but it was something that I would have been willing to discuss at the next meeting because that's going to be my last meeting on this council. But I do not believe it is appropriate for me as somebody who will probably actually almost for certain would not be here for the adoption of this. And I wouldn't leave it to, so if there had been a majority of council members that were going to still or possibly have the ability to stay on this council that wanted to discuss it, fine. But considering there's only 2 council members here that will be here in 5 weeks, I will not suggest putting this on the agenda. Because me doing so, even if these 2 agreed to it, the people that are going to sit here to decide that are not sitting here right now. One of them left, one of them didn't show tonight, and there possibly could be at least 2 other people on this council. So I guess I would just encourage the folks that are working on this to continue to engage and continuing to engage the other side of this issue. There were 9,000, what would you say, 8,000 emails. I would say I would say
we can't have that.
I would say the odds that those are living anywhere near here are probably fairly unlikely. But there is another side to this argument. But that does not mean that what you said tonight is not valid, is not important. And I appreciate our residents that showed to talk about this. But yeah, I will not move forward with asking to put it on the agenda. I would ask future councils to do that.
I think on that matter, I would second your comments. Micah, we have had some discussions with some leaders in our community on this topic. And I think you've had at least one meeting since I was involved in those discussions. I don't know if there's anything you want to share at this point or anything we could suggest that we might do other than put this on an agenda.
Well, and if I could say, the fact that we have engaged in subjects similar to this in the past, I think leads to the fact that the council in this city at some point should decide if it's something that we want to grapple with. I think at the times that we did it in the past, there was not another side to this talking to us about that. There clearly is this time. So again, that's been my feeling for a while, I would say, on this, but we were not given a draft until this time, so we have something. You all, I will not be here. I will live here, but I will not have a vote on this. And so we've engaged in these conversations once we've seen something specific like this. So whether or not you all want to do that will be up to you.
So I think, Mr. Mayor, I think, whether, it's this item or something else, I think we've continued to engage and have conversations about ways to engage with the community and support different efforts that may take place, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward.
I mean, that's something we sort of have as a hallmark of how we do business, interacting with our residents who have, cares, concerns, passions about an issue. not everything has to be a city council agenda item to have an impact and benefit for Rancho Cordova residents. And that's sort of the context under which I think we were having those discussions before. Okay, if there's nothing further, thank you all for coming and for staying, by the way, much appreciated. We look forward to further discourse. We are going to adjourn tonight in the memory of Supervisor John Hydall of El Dorado County, and pass on our condolences to his family and the residents of El Dorado County and the people he worked with in El Dorado County, and continue good work in the spirit that John would have wanted it carried on. So with that, we are adjourned.